A3L, meaning third year, about to graduate in May, law students. We're also going to have an attorney present with us in just a few minutes. He's running a little late. His name is Jason Savla. He's a local Boulder criminal defense attorney. He'll be putting his number up on the board so that you guys have a number in your phone or in your wallet in case something happens, you know who to call. He's a really good attorney, knows a lot about what goes on in Boulder. I just want to take a few seconds here to kind of get to know you. How many of y'all are students? Lots. Do we have any non-students here? Cool, thanks for coming out. Who here has had an encounter with the police? Yeah, that's probably why you're here. Who here has had a good encounter with the police? Yeah, it happens time to time. Who here has had a bad encounter with the police? Yeah, so you know what's going to happen here. Do we have any police officers in the crowd? Okay. You'll learn later that they don't have to identify themselves, but keep that in mind. They occasionally show up at events. So, you know, we'll ask you to kind of keep your stories to a minimum. You don't want to incriminate yourself with all these witnesses who could be called to testify against you later in a case. So just keep that in mind that officers might be present. I think AJ somewhat did the disclaimer, but we're not going to give you individualized legal advice. If you have a case, you need to speak to an attorney. But what we are going to do is give you the guidelines for how you should respond in any situation, whether you know what the law is or not. This is going to help you. And another thing, this is not law school. We're not going to, break down the Fourth Amendment and teach you every little nuance there is. If you've seen enough cop shows, you know it's a big mess. The tips that we're going to talk about are applicable no matter what. So we're going to try to keep the law to a minimum, but if you have specific questions about the law, that's why we have Jason, our lawyer, here. He's going to be doing a question and answer session immediately following our skits, and those kind of specific legal questions we'll put to him.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of tell you how we run this. Kind of what Britta said to expound. So we're just going to give you some really basic principles you can use in every situation. And I'm talking every situation. So these are your constitutional rights. This is like as big as it gets. This is the Constitution, right? So what basically this applies, first of all, to all people. So this is like, even if you're an illegal immigrant, or like you should say undocumented immigrant, then it's going to apply to you because you're in the United States. It applies to everybody. It also applies to all levels of enforcement. So if an FBI agent or a mall security cop or like state, patrol is pulling you over, these apply to every single one of those levels. It's not like FBI has some kind of different rules, than like state police. So anytime you do anything and you're thinking, I don't know, like is this, what level of, you don't even think about that. It's just, these apply all the time. And then, okay, so when everything we're going to teach you here, at the end you're going to kind of walk out, I hope at least feeling kind of empowered. You're going to know what your rights are, you're going to know how to assert them, you're going to feel really good. It's a good feeling, everybody should feel that way in our society. But at the same time, like, just because you're right doesn't mean that a cop can't arrest you. Just because you're right, and you're asserting your rights the right way doesn't mean that he can't hassle you. It's just really important to remember, because it's hard when an officer is like looking, he's doing something unconstitutional. You want to be like, listen, buddy, you're doing something unconstitutional. But it doesn't matter. A cop is correct until a judge tells him he's wrong. So what we're teaching you are the things to say that God, unfortunately, sometimes you might get arrested. These are going to help you later on when you have a lawyer, later on when you're in court. You're not going to win on the streets against a cop. And if you're belligerent about it, or you're like, pushing it, or you're in the cop's face about it, telling him you know what is right and wrong, you might put yourself in bigger risk to get arrested because you're going to piss that officer off. So, just be smart about your interactions with police, but still do everything we're saying. We're not telling you not to do it. Assert it loud and proud. Be smart about how you do it. The other thing too is we got a lot of people here. So everybody's going to have, I'm assuming like half the time, half the people here unfortunately just got arrested or had some kind of problem, and they want, everybody wants to know like about their particular case. So, save your questions to the end. Like, we encourage you to ask questions about the skits. If you don't understand something we're doing, ask us questions, but like we really just don't have time to hear about everybody's individual case, or like, you know, well, in my situation, this and this, or my uncle, you know, I heard. We don't have time for that, but I promise you we'll stay at the end. We'll have an attorney here. I'll stay here till midnight past 2 answering your questions. I promise you that. Just, you know, be respectful of everyone else's time here and don't monopolize. And if you do, like, I might cut you off. It's not because I don't like you. It's not because, you know, I'm a bad dude. It's just, we have to get through this stuff. So, is that cool with everybody? Okay, so we're going to hand out some role play cards. The way we teach this is through skits. You know, we don't want to just come up here and just read you this boring. So we're going to do skits. So we need active participants. So Vivian, you're going to hand out some skit cards. Who's down to be a participant?